Hello, my name is Mark Fennell, and today I'm going to talk to you about some fallacies related to people's data collection and data analysis regarding coal power, CO2, and global warming. The shorthand version of this I like to call is Al Gore causes global warming. I want to introduce to you my book here, Coal Power Technologies Explained Simply. It has every information you want to know about coal power production processes, clean coal technologies, and temperature trends. However, in this case, much of what I talk about is not in the book, because this book is factual, it's data, it's explanations. Most of the analysis I leave for personal presentations and videos such as this one. So I have some data in here, but a lot of what I say is from analysis. People like to talk about global warming, right? And the temperature trends scooting on up. And the first thing people look for is, okay, well, what is the cause? Whenever you look for things, you try to correlate one data line with another data line. So if you see the temperature going up from this year to this year, and then you also see another event from this year to this year, then you think, well, that's a likely correlation as to what the cause is. And here's what I have found. There is a strong data correlation between the temperature trends increasing around the Earth and Al Gore's career moving upward. This is true. Look at the data. The global warming trend really started about the mid-90s, including up to 2000. And then it really plateaued right about the time that Al Gore got his Nobel Prize. That data can be found in my book regarding the temperature years. So if you look at that and say, okay, well, temperature was fine until Al Gore became vice president. Then the temperatures went up. And then after he left the vice presidency, it stabilized. And then it peaked again when he got the Nobel Prize, and then dropped down again. That looks like a correlation, doesn't it? It's a very strong correlation. Therefore, Al Gore must have caused global warming. Now, of course, I don't really believe that any individual, even Al Gore, can actually cause global warming. But I point that out because statistics can be fallacies. You can look at two different trends. They might correlate, they might not. One might be a cause, one might not. So you always have to be careful with what you're looking at. The next thing I want to point out is the highest temperature in the United States occurred in the years 1928 to 1934. Now think about this. We have many cars on the road today, very few cars in 1928. We have many, many coal power plants today, only a few coal power plants in 1928. So if the highest temperatures in the United States, even higher than we've had in the 1990s, were 1928 to 1934, and there were far fewer cars and much less coal power, then how can cars or coal power be the cause of the high temperatures in 1928 to 1934? They can't. Yet people today like to say that the cars and the coal power are the major contributors to the global warming trends in recent years. Again, fallacy. There's no data to support that. Number 3, CO2. Al Gore loves to create this drawing of how CO2 has gone up and up to the stratosphere in recent years. But do you know where he gets his data from and where most people cite their CO2 data from? An observatory in Hawaii. Hawaii. What is Hawaii made of? Volcanoes. What do volcanoes emit? CO2. Even when not erupting, even when just looks stable, it emits invisible CO2 all the time. So you're going to put a temperature gauge on measuring CO2 on top of the largest collection of CO2 producers in the world. I'm not going to trust that data. You might as well stick it behind the engine on a freeway, engine of a car on a freeway. It makes just about as much sense. So, there are my 3 points on the trends. Number 1, Al Gore's career is in sync with the recent temperature global trends of the 1990s. I don't think he caused it, but it proves that there could be a correlation there if you were misled in correlations. Number 2, the highest temperatures were in 1928 to 1934, when we didn't have much coal power or automobiles. Therefore, coal power and automobiles could not possibly be the cause of global warming. And number 3, the CO2 data collection is basically sticking a measuring device in the top of a giant volcano. Therefore, I don't trust any records of CO2 production, creation from that observatory, which means Al Gore's data, by the way. So when you're looking at temperature trends, CO2, global warming, be sure to check the data and make sure there's actual correlations that make sense. And that concludes today's video.